Welcome back to this Transitioning Humanitarians Live. I'm very sorry for appearing 7 minutes late because of the confusion in time change in Europe, so I didn't realize. Anyway, here we are, and today I will be doing it myself as well because Vika is still traveling. So, the topic that we want to continue talking about is the careers, right? So, the topic that I want to touch upon today is how to deal with rejections. And I see so often that we make rejection feel like a very painful thing, and therefore it takes a lot of time for us to recover. It may also be the reason why we start lowering our standards of what we want, how we want things, and also we start compromising what we actually want, right? And oftentimes the rejection that we receive may not be even something for which we really care about, but still it feels like it hurts us, or it feels like it's very like personal, and therefore it takes us time to then do like take up the courage and do the next application. So that's why I thought that I would give you in this brief session about what to do on, or how to approach rejections and what are the things that you can think about. And before I do that, though, I really want to describe it to you in the way of how we can look at how we're currently looking at the rejections, or how are we making rejection mean currently. So there might be one of two ways if I really generalize it. So one way is we then get curious about the external world, or the employer, potential employer, and how could they, being curious, being frustrated, saying things like, well, it's unfair, I qualify, and all the things of basically looking at how they should have hired us and they didn't, and blaming them in some ways, or some type of way of looking at how that's not how it's supposed to be, right? So, in other words, arguing with the fact of being rejected. The other category that we can look at as to how we react to things is when we start making rejection mean all about how something is wrong with us. And that's not helpful either, because that will lead us to a lot of the rabbit holes of how that's not how we are this, how we're that, and how we need to be fixed, or how I don't have this, how I don't have that, or I should know better, or all of the things that may come up because of that rejection. So that's why, like, blaming ourselves and blaming others is never a strategy that's useful. But if you find yourself in that situation, that's okay. Let's process through that emotion of feeling whatever the thing that you're feeling. And by processing, I mean allowing all of those emotions be in your body and just being an observant and looking at how that's what your truth now, and just allowing them to be there, and then allowing them to go through your body. And then once it goes through your body, it washes through you, and then you can have this relief, or this exhale moment to say, ah, okay, how do I want to approach or make rejection mean about myself or about what I'm doing? So here is one thing that I really want to bring to your attention is that make rejection mean never about yourself as a person, but always make it about what you do and how you have done it. Because as soon as you make it about you and how something is wrong with you, attaching to your worth, attaching to your self esteem, then we're likely to go through the rabbit hole of now I will never be able to get another job, or I don't think they want me, and I don't think this, and I don't think that, and then it would just make it so much heavy and difficult for us to handle that. So that's why, if you want to make rejection mean something about what you're doing and how you're applying for that job, make it mean one of two things, and then start investigating and getting curious about it. So one thing could be that they don't really see the value or added value of working with me, which is understandable, right? Maybe we don't really know what they're looking for, or maybe they have other things. So, whatever it is, it's their decision, and they decide in the end of the day what to do with our application. So, that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is I did not really explain the added value of working with me or hiring me. That could be another way of looking at it. So, if it's the first one, meaning that they didn't really see the value of working with me, with my experience, or with whoever they saw, then probably there's not much I can really do about it or like investigate, because it's their opinion, it's their money, it's their organization, or it's their decision. So we may not be able to do much in that situation if our belief or if our conclusion is that. You may also want to check with how or why you believe that. That could always be good for you to get curious as to why they didn't see the value. Now, this is where we're turning now to you or to ourselves. Now, when we're looking at ourselves and saying that I did not explain the value or the added value of working with me and why and how I could work and uh, contribute to whatever the work that they're doing, then it gets curious or it gets interesting and it gets very specific as to what exactly we could have done that we didn't do and why. Right? So, in other words, for instance, I could have said more about particular experience or particular topic, particular vocabulary, particular tone, particular confidence that I did not display or I didn't express, and therefore they may not have seen what I could have actually said and or demonstrated in a different way. And now we get curious as to why we haven't demonstrated that, why we haven't said whatever thing that we could have said, right? And what was it that we were thinking at the time when we were saying these things at the interview or in the written test. So, what are the ways that we were thinking about ourselves, about our work, that then translated into a behavior that was not really favorable for us? And what are we going to do about it? So, one of them, for instance, could be that I wasn't really coming across as confident, is maybe one of the ways that we guess might have been the problem, right? So then the question is, why weren't we feeling confident in that period, in that interview at the time? And we can like think of some of the things of why that could have been. For instance, one of the ways that I used to do in my job interviews is that I used to think, oh, they don't really want to hire me or they don't really want to have me for this position, but I'm just going to do it anyway, right? So imagine if I didn't really believe and if I didn't really believe that I could be hired, then there is a likelihood of them thinking the same thing, or them thinking like I'm really here like nonchalant or not really there like being all in, but rather, oh, I'm just doing it for the ticking the box or for just gaining experience of doing the interview without actually really wanting it, and that will come across and be felt by the others, right? So that's why whenever you looking back at how you showed up and what you said and how you felt at the time when you were doing it, those are great indications for you then to decide, okay, do I really want to approach the next interview that way? And if not, how I'm going to approach it? What are the things I'm really going to believe about myself, about my abilities, so that those beliefs then leak out of me. Those beliefs translate into action of me showing up as confident, as explaining things in the way that's very calm, even though nervousness will probably be part of that journey, and that's okay. But still, we can always come back to this is how I want to present, this is how I want to say things, this is how I think they should hear it, and then start working on them. You see, so instead of focusing so much on how I need to fix myself and how we need to fix the society or them and it's unfair and all of the things, we focus very much specifically on how are we showing up in that interview or in that process in order to minimize the rejection and in order obviously to get the job that we want to or to create the result that we want to, right? So that's really like the way that I want you to think about is not to go into now thinking, oh my God, I need to now compromise. I need to now just lower my standards, or I need to just apply for the next best thing because I don't think I will get this anyway. Instead of like engaging in that drama, let's focus on how you could have done things next in the better way, in the way that you think will get you more chances or will guarantee you the result of having the uh, favorable answer instead of rejection, right? So that's why I really find that rejection could be another opportunity for us then decide, okay, things are not going the way that I thought it would go, and why is that? And start investigating specifically in our actions, in our feelings of how we showed up, in how we were thinking about ourselves in that moment, and we can spend a lot of more time and energy on this instead of trying to control others of how they should behave in a particular way, which we can't control anyway, instead of blaming ourselves for how we need to be fixed and we can't just be deserving this or that and then tying our self worth to the job. Instead of doing any of that, focusing on how I may not have explained the added value of me being part of that team. And here are the ways that I can explain. Here are the ways that I will support those explanations with my feelings, feeling of trust, feeling of confidence, feeling of certainty, feeling of focused, concentrated, um, whatever other feelings that you believe will be very helpful. And then thinking in the way that they want to hire me because of these reasons. And here are the reasons why I want to work with them. And therefore, I'm going all in to show them the added value of working with, right? So this I find it more and better way of spending our time, worth spending our time, rather than talking about rejection or making rejection mean another ammunition to like be pissed about ourselves or pissed about others, and then like creating or keep generating this feeling of drained or exhausted or like hopelessness, and then we're like uh, and then we just don't do anything about it, or we just take a lot of time to recover from it. And then we start doing it again, and then we feeling like we need to recover again. So you see what I'm saying? That the cycle will continue and continue, and that may not be useful at all. So that's why I really want you to think about how you are making rejections mean currently about yourself and about what you do, and then deciding how you want to separate what you do from who you are, and then not let rejections touch you as a person and not make something mean wrong about you, but rather here are the things that I submitted, here are the ways that I said things, and here are the ways that I could have done differently, and next time this is what I'm doing, and then start showing up that way every time. And I know that it sounds like maybe not the usual thing that we do things and not the usual way we treat rejections, but at the same time I know that the way that I'm proposing for you to think about and doing things will help you not only learn so much about yourself as to how you can actually control things within your control and focus on that, and learn the skill of being so in charge of what you want and how you want to create things, rather than trying to tell everyone else how they should behave and what they should do and shouldn't do, and how unfair it is and all the things. Because yes, we can sit about and talk about all the things of how unfair it is, But we know that that will always lead to more exhaustion, more feeling frustrated, more feeling hopeless, and therefore we will not want to do it again. And even if we do it, we just do it for the sake of ticking the box, and that's never useful. If the result that we're wanting is actually getting a job the way that we want to, or working in the field that we really want to, right? So that's why I really want to encourage you to give it a try and think about how you can minimize the emotional suffering from that rejection and maximize learning about how you can be in charge of creating that result that you want. And that's an amazing skill that you can develop, whether then you will continue using it in job search or creating your own business or your own work, your own atelier, whatever it is, your independent work. You can always use that skill of what am I in charge of and how do I want to improve it in the way that is so good that it's so difficult for the other person to say no to, right? So that's a skill that you can develop. Okay, my dears, I hope that this was helpful, even though it was a very short one. And the next month, when Vicky's returning, we will be talking about money in the whole month. So stay tuned, and we would love to invite you to coach with us, and also, of course, let us know about what specific topics you're struggling with so we can help you with any of that topic so you can transition to the life that you want to in the most effective way. So let us know. Thank you so much. Have an amazing week and talk to you very